Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of the country's biggest stars and some of my favourite people. And we've got one for you today. Sir Tony Robinson is the English actor, comedian and historian. And he's part of this wonderful thing they're doing this weekend at Ancestry, offering free access to all UK military records online. And to tell us all about it is Tony now. How are you doing, Sir Tony?
I'm doing very well. I'm very excited and indeed moved by the fact that it is the 100th anniversary of the Battle of Passchendaele, and it's great that Ancestry have freed up all this information so that we can all have a look and learn more about Passchendaele and maybe link up with some ancestors that we didn't know existed.
Of course, Remembrance Sunday is an opportunity for us to remember those who fought on our behalf, and the bravery of these men is just extraordinary, especially in a battle like this.
A lot of them were really, really scared, and in a way that's it's even more of a tragedy, isn't it, when you just have to step out of your trench and march because you're ordered to go uphill, and there's no turning back, and you'll be shot even if you stop. So there were as many different motivations around then as I guess there probably are now.
I worked for BFBS for a while in Germany. It was where the troops were sent to go to war. And the one thing that I learned about army people, A, they have a terrific sense of humour, and B, they do what they're told and they do it with honour and integrity. It's a unique way of thinking when you've worked with the army people.
It is extraordinary, isn't it, that during the First World War, so many people volunteered to go out and fight. And I know that originally, at the beginning of the war, everyone thought, oh, well, the war will be over by Christmas and it's going to be a bit of a doddle, just like the colonial wars that we've been fighting for the last 40 or 50 years. But as the war went on, more and more people knew roughly the kind of situation that they would be going into, and yet they still volunteered. I'm not sure I agree with you about it's a different generation with a different kind of heroism. I think that probably if the chips were down now, this generation of young people would enact the same kind of heroism. I think it's just about the times and what is available and what's on offer and what you feel that you have to do.
Yeah, I mean, we look back to 1917, November the 10th, when Passchendaele ended. Just fill us in, for those who don't know, about this particular part of the war.
It was a bonkers battle, actually. It was the last of the big mass set-piece battles in which hundreds of thousands of people died. The village of Passchendaele was tiny. It was the highest spot on the eastern end of the Ypres salient, the salient being this knobbly piece of land which was a bit higher than all the land around it, so that if your side had the Ypres salient, then it meant that you could split your opponents in two, and as far as the Allies were concerned, could prevent the Germans from reaching the coast, so they couldn't get out into the North Sea via northern France and Belgium. So strategically it was really important. And Haig, in early 1917, was determined to do one big push. And the cabinet were very sceptical about this, and it wasn't until the July that he was given permission, which meant that he had to start this push really late, and it was going to go on into the rainy season. There was no doubt about that, except he didn't think there would be much rain that year, as there hadn't been for the previous few years. And the reason that the rain was so significant was that that area around Passchendaele was not unlike the Cambridgeshire Fens. It was riddled with dikes and ditches in order to drain the land, because without them it would just get really boggy and flood. And it rained much more than anyone had predicted, and it did get boggy, and indeed that mud turned into a morass. And the Allies had to march uphill, and they were marching uphill in mud that was sometimes 5 foot deep. Can you imagine that?
No.
And they were having to go forward, and as we said earlier, they had to go forward. You weren't allowed to stop, you weren't allowed to turn to one side, and you were facing the German guns, and it was just slaughter. And the Germans got slaughtered too, and all told, well, it's very hard to work out precisely how many people died because it was such mayhem, but it was significantly over the 500,000 mark. And at the end of the day, what happened? The Canadians retook Passchendaele, which meant that they were in exactly the same spot that they'd been 2 years previously.
Remarkable. You can get free access to all UK military records by going to ancestry.co.uk is the place to go. It's on the front page, 10th to the 13th of November, free access to all UK military records. You're the second knighted man I've spoke to this week. We had Doddy on earlier this week for his 90th birthday. How has it changed your life being a Sir?
Probably not at all. I thought when it happened, I thought it was the biggest deal in the whole world. Both my wife and I, we couldn't think of anything else for months. And gradually it's just kind of disappeared. And the only times that I think of it really are, I don't know, the maitre d' in a restaurant might call me Sir, or like you have done just now. And I think, oh, that's me. That's really rather nice, isn't it, to be honoured by your country for the contribution that you make. So, you know, I am still flattered and grateful to have received it. But I can't admit to you that it really occupies a great deal of my mind or my time. I have to say that a few months ago, I was in the front row to see Ken Dodd, still doing well over 2 hours for his set. And towards the end of it, he looked down and went, "Oh, it's Tony Robinson from Time Team," or should I say Sir Tony Robinson.
Oh.
And I got a round of applause initiated by him, which was one of the nicest things that has ever happened to me.
Yeah, incredible. And what a legacy of 60 years in show business. I guess for anybody in comedy, there's no greater powerhouse comedian than Ken, just purely on the hours he's done on stage.
No, absolutely, yeah, it was fantastic. Mad and yet wonderful.
And akin to him, you had Prince William. Was it slightly disappointing you didn't get the Queen, or was it more thrilling that you've got the future King?
I think it was great that I got William. I think the first thought was, oh, I haven't got the Queen. But actually, it is really, really hard going. They have to give honours to 89 people, which means 89 chats. It's not, it's not something an elderly woman ought to be doing at all. And it was really good to meet William. I mean, I'm no great monarchist, but I thought he was a really charming and straightforward bloke. I really enjoyed my chat with him. And in fact, he is a big Blackadder fan, and during the course of the knighting, I said to him, well, if we ever did another series, how would you feel about being in it? He said, oh, yes, I'll do that. So actually, while I was being knighted, I was actually doing some casting. And I don't think there are very many people.
So I'm just looking at this statistic. It's got to be wrong. Blackadder can't be nearly 40 years old. That's ludicrous, surely.
That would be about right, wouldn't it?
1983.
Well, 83, yeah. Yeah, it's 35's nearer, isn't it? But
It's still a long time ago. Does it feel like yesterday, or is it a different life?
I think it was the beginning of today for me, if you know what I mean. It's such a great leap forward in my experience. Suddenly, having been just a jobbing actor for 40 years, suddenly, no, come on, I'm not 85. That doesn't make sense. Anyway, I'd been a jobbing actor for a very, very long time, and then suddenly, whoosh, I became the centre of this great big cult storm, and it was fantastic.
When you look down that list of names, my God, what a thrill. I mean, from Richard Curtis at the top, Ben Elton, who I love very much, Rowan Atkinson, genius, Hugh Laurie, who probably the biggest star of any of you at the moment. I mean, doing incredibly well, isn't he? Stephen Fry.
And right down the bottom of the list, some bloke called Stephen Fry, who I don't know what I'm doing.
I mean, did you know in those days that they were all special people, or were you just jobbing actors glad to be in work?
No. From the beginning, I knew that they were all special people. They were dazzling. They were really intoxicating to be around. All very, very charming. All with that great Oxbridge veneer of confidence, which I've never had, and just so creative and so serious about the work they were doing. Some bloke said to me last night, "God, doing Blackadder must have been a hoot." It wasn't actually a hoot. It was just very, very focused. And when we knew we had got a joke right, we didn't fall around laughing. We just went, yes, yes, yes. It was like we thought as one great collective, with with one person contributing something, then someone else would contribute something to go on top of that. And it was like sentences were never finished because they didn't need to be, because we were all thinking along the same lines. It was glorious.
Well, that comedic synergy is just beautiful. It happens so rarely. But to go down in the history as one of the greatest, it must be thrilling for you. But of course, your life was as an actor. I mean, do you regard yourself as a comedian, as a philosopher, or as an actor? What are you?
Some bloke off the telly. That's genuinely how I perceive myself. One of the things that has been great for me is that I've had such a variety of things to do in my working life. And that's what I love. I've got very much of a butterfly mind. And today I'm talking about Passchendaele, and tomorrow I'll be writing a bit from the book, and early next week I'll be doing something in a sitcom or whatever. And it's that variety that I revel in.
And what a thrill still to be here. I always think in show business, the key to success is not having one major hit, it's having longevity, and you've managed that. I was curious about your relationship with Ben Elton, because when he wrote We Will Rock You, I always wondered whether you'd have a part, because there is a thing in that you could do. Were you ever offered that? Because musicals was where you started, and it seems an obvious place for you to be.
No, but I'll have a word with Ben about that. I'd never thought about that, and now you say it, I'm very angry.
Yes, you should be, because the fella from Corrie got it, didn't he? That strange fella. He only had one song in the whole thing, but you could have done that marvellously.
Oh, don't. No, I started this interview, I was in a very relaxed and now I'm slightly irritated.
It's very funny. People always say that. They like it at the beginning, but by the end, they're somehow depressed and wish they hadn't have bothered.
Yeah. Is that true with your relationship?
Yes, it's true. Well, private life, bedroom, and interviews. They're all the same thing, really, when you think about it. Hey, listen, it's been great talking to you. You are one of our legends, and I'd love to talk to you again, because what a life and career you've had, and to still be here decades on, as strong as you ever were. Is it thrilling to walk down the street and have the granddads, the dads, and the kids all know who you are? Because there aren't many people who get that.
No, I must admit, it is very flattering. I do enjoy that.
Yeah, really lovely. Okay, let's do the plug. You can find out about all access to UK military records by going to ancestry.co.uk. It's on the front page there, 10th through 13th of November. And I really appreciate you talking today. Sir Tony Robinson, thanks for your time.
Cheers.